The decision that makes everything downstream work. Listen, most loan officers, they're working on the wrong problem. You know, it's so easy to think the problem is activity and more calls and more effort and more hustle. But here's the thing, the problem is not activity. I believe what's really come to the forefront over the last 2 years in my business, in my life, and with so many of the loan officers I've had the opportunity to help and coach and be a guide on this journey together as we're both, we are right now operating and moving together. And here's the thing, the problem really that I'm finding is its identity, and nobody's talking about it. And there's a difference between knowing and actually understanding what that actually means. And so in this episode, hey, what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about identity and what the real thing that has continued to come to the forefront is this phrase, be, do, have. And I believe that most loan officers have this backwards. They're trying to do their way to a new business without changing who they are. And that's why motivation runs out. Look, go to a conference and I went to this great event and I feel fired up. Anybody? I've done it. How many times I've done it where it's like, I'm fired up. I'm going to get back. I'm going to make my calls. I'm going to do the right activity. I'm going to hit this massive income goal and I'm going to hit this great unit and volume per month and I'm going to kill it. Anybody? Yeah, me too. And what happens is I have found that's motivation. And I don't know about you, but I'm motivated for about the first 72 hours, maybe 4 days. I mean, if I'm lucky, I get through the first week of being back of it's going to be different. And here's what I have found is this, you can't motivate your way to a predictable business. You can't motivate your way to doing the right activity consistently over time. I can't motivate my way to having the results. And listen, some of us got in this business because, you know what, we really, some of you, it's like I feel called to the industry, and some of you, it's like I want to make a lot of money. Some of you, looks like a great opportunity, and the answer is yes, 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 yes. But we can't have without doing the work that it takes to have the result. And you can't do the work because we haven't become the person that does the work to have the results. And it's so critical that we get this right, that it's not an activity issue. Do we do activity? Yes. Do we know what to do each and every day? Yes. Do we have a predictable number that if I do this activity each day, 5 days a week or 4 days a week, or this number of days every single month, I'm going to get this result? Look, it's a math equation. The answer is yes. You can predict your business based on the activity because the right activity will produce qualified and relational referrals, and those relational referrals statistically, I know in my business closing about 1 in 4. So if I got 40 leads in a month that are relationally referred, I'm going to close about 10 to 12 deals a month. If I got 60 relational leads, I'm going to close probably 15 of those, maybe 16. And so it's a math equation, but the thing is, I can't have that until I can become the person that does the activity to have that result. And here's the big challenge too. I think so many times we've made a choice to get in the business. We got to decide. And I talk a lot about that in day 1 of the 5-day challenge. This is such a big component, is instead of just choices have options. We've got to make a decision that today is the day. And a decision, listen, the root word of it means to cut away. When the greatest gift I had in this business, I was broke. I mean, you'll hear my story, and some of you already know my story. I was 25 years old. I was dead broke, $250,000 in debt. I had 4 homes that we were flipping that went into foreclosure. I mean, I owed the bank money. I owed people. I mean, it was awful. And I'll never forget when I remember God calling me into this business. I was walking with my new wife. We were young, relatively newly married, and within our first year. And I got to tell you this, I was just praying. I remember we were walking across Greens Bayou in Houston. We lived in some apartments over there. And I just was saying under my breath, it wasn't like I was praying and fasting like like on my knees pleading with God. I was just saying, God, I know you've called me to make a difference, and I'm asking for your direction on what to do with the rest of my life. You know, I've been a musician full time, and we'd flipped houses. I mean, and through those experiences, I loved real estate, and I felt God drop in my heart mortgages. And I always say it all the time, but I didn't know you spelt mortgage with two G's. That silent G, or it sounds silent anyway. It was pretty funny, and that's kind of my joke. But the reality is, I'll never forget when God dropped it in my heart. I never had a second thought. And what I didn't realize then, but I see now looking back, there was a decision that had been made at that point. And I used to tell Steph this all the time, because we struggled, guys. I mean, some of you might be there right now. We were so poor. When we got married, we put our honeymoon on a credit card. I mean, it was just not only that, but we literally would go on quarter dates. There was a 50-cent matinee, and we'd go this little Fratoli's or something, I don't know, this fast food, what is it, like pasta kind of place. It was cheap, and we could have a full-on date for like $6. And that's how broke we were. And I'll never forget that even in that season, I kept going back to there's no plan B. There's no plan B. There's no plan B. And I think part of what we've got to do is understand the order a be, do, have. But then also there's a point of making a decision. And then once you make a decision, you got to understand where you're at in the growth map. And I talk about that in the 5-day challenge on day 1. I'm going to walk you through where you're at, because you got to self-assess. You got to know where you're at to be able to know what the next step is. Because see, if I can see what the next step is, I can see what the type of person would need to be to get to that next step. And on the growth map, when you begin to visualize it, it's like, wow, I've got a clear path to the next step and the next step. And here's the thing too, because we've got lies that are running in the back of our head and our thoughts and our processes that we've allowed to come into our business without permission. And I believe this, our past experiences. Look, I'll talk a lot about this on day 1 of the 5-day challenge. I had a horrible experience in the first few years with some agents that were just rough and mean and cutthroat. And then I had some great experiences with agents that were kind and gentle and compassionate and thoughtful. And I believe God allowed me to run into both, because it began to frame, out of that season came that phrase you hear me say all the time. And I have no idea where I got it from, but it was, I choose to get better, not bitter. I would say that all the time. I'm not going to get bitter. I'm going to get better. And every day it was like, okay, I see two crazy sides of this world. I know God's called me. I've made a decision. I see where I'm at and where I'm going. And now it's time for me to remove the lies and that are operating, and you didn't even give them permission. That's the crazy thing. I didn't even know they were running in the subconscious of my mind. And I'm not talking about hokey, crazy things. I'm just saying, in having done counseling for almost 20 plus years, I began to realize, wow, there are things that are automatically coming up when I have conversations. Like, I don't want to sound salesy, and I don't want to do all these things that all I thought were just normal thoughts, but had become a part of the identity of who I was. And until I began to very systematically, and it started probably, 7 to 10 years ago, but especially in the last 2 to 3 years, I really have begun to understand what I was doing by accident has to be done with intention. And I talk about the 4 steps of transformation, and one of them is identify, and the other one is intention. And part of it is there's an awareness that happens, and it's like, whoa, my identity has been the big culprit over the last 20 years. And if I fix identity, everything else fix. And so we talk about your head, what you're seeing, and how the things you're seeing, you're framing them. And those travel to your heart, which create an emotion, and the emotion either gives you the power to act or it causes inactivity. And we're going to address that inside of the 5-day challenge, the first module, where we talk about the identity and how to get the cornerstone right. And I'll never forget, man, my mantra was, nobody will outwork me, but I didn't realize work alone was not enough. Hey, this is it. Well, you know what? when I think about work not being enough, I was just going to share a story, and this just came to my mind. My father passed away probably 5 years ago, and I don't know how much I've shared this, but let me just share this with you. I'll never forget, I never had a harder working dad. My dad would work 7 days a week. He'd work Monday through Sunday, 10 a.m. till probably got home at 11 o'clock. He did that my whole childhood growing up. All he knew how to do was work. And look, it was his way of showing love and provision for our family. And you know what? He came from a violently abusive alcoholic family, which, I mean, some of you know that story. But and when you're growing up, you don't understand why dad works all the time. But what I did take in that season, because the last probably 4 or 5 years together was such a healing. Man, my dad was really one of my heroes, and just a remarkable man. And I wore that mantra like a badge. Nobody will outwork me, because I watched my dad do it. And look, the one thing Kyles do well, we work hard. And what I realized was he died on Social Security and not a wealthy man, and hard work alone wasn't enough. And what I realized in his passing and reflection a few years, now it's 4 or 5 years past that, to where I realized, my gosh, if hard work were enough, he would have died wealthy. It just would have been different. But hard work wasn't enough. And hard work will make you tired. Hard work will make you exhausted at times. Listen, it's important. Believe me, we work hard. We move. We're effective. But it's not just hard work. It's understanding your identity, and it's learning to work more effective with the time you have, so that we use leveraged activities, leveraged conversations, leveraged, building the plan while we're running. Look, you can't stop identity and say, I'm taking a month off. I'm going to work on my identity. I don't know about you, but I didn't have that luxury. I had to restart quickly. So I immediately hit the ground, immediately started working on identity, and immediately began to see results, because you got to transform while you're in motion. This industry won't let you stand still. And I'll tell you this, working hard is not enough. Nobody will outwork me is a good mantra, but it's not a great, predictable business. I was performing, hoping it would all come together. And the day I made a decision, not a choice, everything got easier downstream. And one of the things I love the most about day one in the 5-day challenge is you're going to build your identity claim. And it's a written declaration that you're going to sign. And it's a decision that today you are a predictable producer. Today, I will not let the business run me, but I will run it, and it will serve me, my life, my family, my finances, and the lives I impact because of what God's called and created you to be and do. And I just want to encourage you, if you've not already taken the 5-day challenge, take the 5-day challenge. Go to predictableproducer.com, predictableproducer.com. Jump into the challenge. Today, you can decide that there is no more roller coaster, no more ups, no more downs, but you're going to have a predictable business, and you're going to make a lot of money and have fun doing it, and you can. So I want to encourage you, predictableproducer.com. Go start the challenge now. Let it transform your mind, your life, and your family, and be all that you've been created to be, do, and then have. So hope this episode has helped you. And listen, remember this, anything worth doing is worth doing badly. Just get started. See ya.